we're talking here a little bit about Erik Karlsson to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Later today, he will have his introductory press conference at, I believe, the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex out in Cranberry. They bring him in person, so it won't be over Zoom. So it will be interesting to see what Erik Karlsson says in his first appearance as a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But with him coming to Pittsburgh, the question then becomes, or at least one of the several questions becomes, who does this benefit most on the roster? Because clearly it benefits the roster as a whole tremendously, right? We talked about that on Sunday. Again, go back and listen to the emergency pod. We talk a lot about the moves that went out, the players that went out, the pieces that went out, and the pieces that came in, including Rem Pitlick, who we got into for about 5 minutes or so on that episode. But when it comes to Karlsson, besides the entire team, besides what it means for Erik Karlsson to be back on a team that's going to contend for a playoff spot, who does this help out the most on the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I mean, right, everyone's the easy answer. There's quite a few. I think a lot of people will jump to Kris Letang right away. You know, he's going to have some minutes chewed away. It's going to extend his ability to play long, play long into his career, deep into his career, long into these games. Just because, like Kyle Dubas said, between the two of them, Karlsson and Letang, they should play upwards of 50 minutes a night, which is a hilarious stat to think about. But yeah, that's an option right there, an easy option of obviously Kris Letang will see some setbacks in terms of ice time, but should be able to keep him, pretty youthful, not tired for the games. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but it's okay. I think Kris Letang is obviously an option there, but also whoever he gets paired with is going to have to extend and really grow their defensive prowess, because let's just be honest here, Erik Karlsson doesn't play much defense. But that's the reason why we got him. We wanted him to be a puck mover and a goal scorer.
Yeah, and here's the thing about that as well, before I talk about that partner who I think is going to benefit the most amongst anybody else on the Pittsburgh Penguins. The best defense is offense, right? That's a tried and true thing, that if you are in the offensive zone creating offense and scoring goals, the other team at the same time cannot be scoring goals. That's not how the sport works. I mean, Hockey for Dummies 101, Chapter 1. If you're scoring, the other team is not at the same time. So the more offense that Erik Karlsson can provide, the less time he'll be spending in his own zone, which is a good thing for the Penguins and a good thing for this defensive partner, who is going to have a lot of responsibility once the puck does inevitably get into the Penguins' defensive zone with Erik Karlsson on the ice, and that is Marcus Pettersson. I mean, all indications are that Pettersson is going to get the first kick at the can at being defensive partners with Erik Karlsson, and it makes a lot of sense. The Pittsburgh Penguins just brought in Ryan Graves. He's going to be their top pairing defenseman, and Kris Letang is still one of the better defensemen, if not one of the top 15, top 10 defensemen in the National Hockey League when healthy. So yeah, he's going to get top pairing minutes as well. I mean, both Letang and Karlsson could, as you mentioned. I still think that it probably works out the opening way of having Graves, Letang, Pettersson, and Karlsson. And that gives Pettersson a great opportunity here, because the spotlight is going to be on him more so than the spotlight has ever been on him in his career. And the big thing is, with Karlsson coming over, everybody's going to want to watch when Karlsson is on the ice. What's he going to do? And who's going to be staple gunned right next to him? It's Marcus Pettersson. Now, Pettersson might not be in a contract year, but he has 2 years remaining on his contract. Playing those 2 seasons next to Erik Karlsson instead of Jeff Petrie, while yes, it's going to extend his responsibility a little bit more, I think it's also going to give him more opportunity to, if he thrives in that role, make himself a lot of money over the next 2 seasons.
It could. It absolutely will. He's going to be that man that, almost the way we looked at Brian Dumoulin way back when, it was he's going to be playing alongside a pretty offensive-minded defenseman, and he'll have to really step up in terms of a defensive mindset and become that stay-at-home defenseman that you don't really think about much, right? You don't think about in terms of how good they genuinely are at their position. And it's a good spot for Pettersson to be in, because we know he can absolutely jump into that sort of role. It's not a top-line role, so he's not eating up a ton of minutes. He's got that benefit of not being on the ice as often as Brian Dumoulin was.
Mm-hmm.
He still might take up a few extra minutes here and there because he's going to be playing alongside someone who they want to have out on the ice a pretty fair amount. But um, it's going to be a pretty similar role to what he had already in terms of the ice time, and all he has to do is step up in performance.
Yeah. Last season, Marcus Pettersson had a career high in expected goals percentage at 56%. So clearly his defensive game, something that was already one of his strengths, is heading in the right direction as he gets into the prime of his career. Adding a guy like Erik Karlsson is going to test that defensive ability, but I also think it's going to help him in the instance that Erik Karlsson is going to get the puck out really easily, right? That's one of the things Karlsson is great at. He's great at that first pass. He's great at zone exits. So if Pettersson gets into a jam, send it over to your partner, and your partner is going to be able to do some magical things. So I really think that Marcus Pettersson, when this trade went down, probably looked in the mirror and saw money signs in his eyes because he's playing alongside a future Hall of Famer, no matter where he is in the lineup, right? Even if he bumps up, he's playing with future Hall of Famer Kris Letang. If he stays where he's at, he's playing with future Hall of Famer Erik Karlsson. And that is always, always going to benefit a defensive defenseman like Marcus Pettersson. He'll be able to fade into the background, do the dirty work, and get paid for it. Because while the general public might not look at that, NHL GMs certainly do.
Yeah, it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity for him. And, it's going to be an interesting dynamic with those two, but it's something that the Penguins have been looking forward to all summer. So
another name of somebody that is going to drastically benefit from the addition of Erik Karlsson. It's Evgeni Malkin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing, the same discussion we had last year, but the difference is going from Jeff Petrie to Erik Karlsson, especially on the offensive side of the puck, is an absolute drastic takeover of talent, right? Jeff Petrie wasn't inept. Jeff Petrie was a pretty good puck mover, but the speed and the talent of Erik Karlsson is on another level. And what we mentioned last season, what we'll mention again here, is Kris Letang is typically going to be paired up with Sidney Crosby. That's how it's been for the entirety of their careers. The majority of Letang's ice time is spent with Crosby's line. Malkin, there's been times where, hey, you get Justin Schultz. You see what happened in those years with Justin Schultz. Evgeni Malkin's line started to thrive. You add Erik Karlsson to this equation, I think Evgeni Malkin really benefits starting at the beginning of this season.
Yeah, I think he will. It's perfect timing for a player like Malkin, too. I mean, he was coming into a fully healthy season last year, and he had a pretty good year. He had a better year than I think a lot of us expected. And now another year older, obviously, that decline in play is inevitable. It's kind of sitting there waiting. This should extend the window for Malkin a little bit more, too. Being able to play with the puck mover that Karlsson is, even the finisher that Karlsson is, if Malkin can get the puck to him with his underrated playmaking ability, it should extend that window of maybe not actual pure skill and, eye test, but those numbers will at least keep clicking, right? There will at least still be a fair amount of production coming from Evgeni Malkin with the help of Erik Karlsson. So, yeah, when you put it the way of, Letang spent most of his career with Crosby despite not being the same position, it's going to translate the same way for Malkin and Karlsson, at least into this season. We'll see where things go after that, but for sure into this year.
Yeah, as we stand now. But also, Malkin, in a sense, got two new line mates, right? If you consider Erik Karlsson somebody who more often is going to be deployed at 5-on-5 with Evgeni Malkin's line, Evgeni Malkin gets Riley Smith on his left side, a more consistent goal-scoring threat, somebody who is going to help with the defensive responsibility when he is on the ice because he can play that two-way style. And he gets Erik Karlsson, who's not only an eloquent passer, and I think that's understating it, but he's not only an eloquent passer, but this is somebody who can carry the puck into the zone with a whole lot of speed. And what does that do? It busts open opposing defenses and creates a lot of space for Malkin to do what he does best. You mentioned he has an underrated playmaking ability, and I agree with that. I think Evgeni Malkin's vision and his passing ability are something that don't get talked about nearly enough. But that's because his finish and when he gets set up just right, it's nearly impossible to stop a Malkin one-timer. You just don't see it enough. He just doesn't get set up enough for it. That's going to change with Erik Karlsson. He's going to be able to become the pure sniper that he was back in the early 2010s. Now, it might not be the same because he is 10, 11, 12 years older at this point, but he's going to be able to get back to that style of game, which is going to allow him to put up some bigger numbers. And maybe, as we've talked about over the past couple of weeks, maybe even the past month, maybe get him to the 30-goal plateau, which would get him to 500 on his career.
Yeah, now that the Karlsson has been added, we need to revisit all those statistics that we talked about before. Also, because I forget what we said for all of them.
Yes.
But I'm sure there'll be more predictions to come. Wait for September. September and early October should be quite fun in terms of watching what's going on with the Penguins, watching what kind of lines we're seeing at camp, what kind of pairings we're getting. There's gonna be so much entertainment into the next couple months. I mean, yeah, we got this little time off. It's much deserved for a lot of people, and then back at it.